starting a channel, a community, and soon to be a nonprofit organization. And the purpose of Re-Vera is very simply to help people apply critical thinking in ways that improve your lives. So through critical thinking, we can solve problems personally, in business, relationships, as well as political and social problems. And I've found this approach to be extremely beneficial to my own life. So that's the purpose of the community. I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to be playing games. I'm going to be relaxing. I have a Discord server set up, so I'm going to actually post that in comments if I can here. Let's see. So thanks for the wait. The first go-around did not work out so well. My computer crashed. I could not handle it. I don't know what's going on. But we are good to go now. Okay, I'll get that up in a second. But yeah, I wanted to tell a little bit about my story. Where should I start? Let's start. I moved to California in the spring, really early summer of 2008 for a construction job, and it was the best money I'd ever made up to that point in my life. I was making $25 an hour cash, $1,200 a week. Woohoo! Just cash, just. And after 6 weeks, all of a sudden there's no more work. The investors backed out of the next project. So I was working less and less as time went on. And, I had to downgrade to a cheaper place to live. I started lapsing in different payments. Work went from full-time to less than full-time to virtually non-existent. And a year and a half later, I got evicted. Just before I got evicted, I got pulled over for having a headlight out and got a ticket for not having insurance or registration, which, of course, I couldn't pay the ticket because I couldn't pay the insurance or registration. So at that point, I got evicted. And I found a place to live in exchange for some remodel work at the last minute. And it was really in a tough situation. Let's just say that. I finally, after a couple of months, I got an offer of a job from somebody I used to work with. And it was like a miracle finally getting a job because it was tough. And I worked there for about a week and a half, and I got my first paycheck, and I was on my way to the DMV to pay the ticket, and I got pulled over, and my car impounded. So now I had no car, lost my job because I couldn't get to work, and I spent the next 2 years unemployed and really miserable. And towards the end of that period, I was talking to people online. I'd been playing World of Warcraft heavily. I was in a top 20 guild, which is very high up there. And I had written a guide that 250,000 people viewed, so I was pretty up there in World of Warcraft. And I was talking to people on there. I was also talking to people online. And I was having my ideology I'd grown up with challenged. And I thought I could defend it. And I was defending it, but just over the months, the cracks started appearing, and I started learning more about critical thinking and how that works, and how logic works, and how we seek truth methodologically, and how effective that is, and it ended up changing the entire way I think. And during this process, I had the thought that this critical thinking stuff's wonderful, but can it help me in my life? So I decided to try. And so I started methodologically, okay, what are my problems? And I just started using the critical thinking to solve them. And it worked. Within 3 years, I had gotten a job. I had met my current beautiful wife. Hi, Marilyn. And we bought a house. I got a job, and then I got promoted, and then I got promoted, and then I got promoted again. So I'm doing very well at my job. And I attribute it all to the act of critical thinking, basically seeking truth methodologically. Because our bias tends to pervert our judgment. And if you're not doing it methodologically, you're probably not going to actually change anything, because if you could have solved it intuitively, you would have already solved it. So one thing I think we should all work on, the one thing that changed my life more than anything, was the realization and the belief that all problems have a best solution. Think about it. It might not be the solution you want, it might not be the best solution that you could imagine, but it's the best solution available to you right now. All problems have a best solution. If you body switched with the best person in the world at solving that problem, they would solve your problem. In general, so relationships. If you have a business problem or a financial problem, and you body switched with, I don't know, Warren Buffett, they'd probably solve your problem. So it's an issue of knowledge, and it's an issue of knowing how to implement the solution. But if you do that, any problem can be solved. That's my belief. And I wanted to build a community that's built around practically solving problems and making life better, at the same time as playing game, having some fun. So I will probably be playing Minecraft here in a little bit, just to do something else other than just talk. Let's see how I'm doing. I had everything all set up. I had the comments all popped out, and then everything crashed. So I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Yay! Anarchist Tech Support made it back. Welcome. I could use some anarchist tech support. I could really use any kind of tech support. Gotta move some stuff around. Let me pull up that Discord link, because I'd like to hang out. My plan is whenever I'm not streaming, I'm going to be hanging out in this Discord server, having voice conversations, and going to have a community there and text-based conversations if you're not comfortable talking. But I think we should all do more real life. I mean, we should be meeting in real life. That's a lot more effective in terms of social connection. But, we don't. So the next best thing is voice chat. Find my link and I'll post it in chat. Like I said, I'm building a nonprofit organization, and I'm probably going to do it under the kind of umbrella of humanism, because they have an established religion and organization, and kind of makes everything easier. And I fully identify with that. So it's going to be a humanist organization, but it's going to be focused on making people's lives better in as practical a way as we can. So I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and my story, and the belief that all problems have a best solution. That's something we all need to work on, and because it's not natural for us as humans. When we have a problem, we tend to want to make excuses. We complain about it. We pity ourselves. We often don't just think about how to fix it, which is weird. I catch myself doing it all the time. I have a problem, and after a while of dealing with that, I'll eventually get around to, oh wait, I should just solve it. So work on believing it. And when I say work on believing it, you could stand in front of the mirror and say, all problems have a best solution. And you can say it 10 times in a row every morning. If that works for you, great. It's never worked for me. For me, what works best is thinking about it and thinking, do I believe this? If I don't, what am I skeptical of? What part of it am I not identifying with? What's my challenge? Do I just not believe that this particular problem has a best solution? Think about it. Well, Warren Buffett's pretty good with finances from what I hear. I don't know. Theory played. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing. So, I like to methodologically work it out. So, I would literally sit down, with a notepad or pop up your laptop or what have you, and write out, like, if you had a magic wand and you can solve some problems, what would you want to solve? And, like, think about what your problems are. So, for instance, the first problem I'm going to personally be dealing with from this point is I'm planning on losing some weight. I'm not exactly the most thin person. And so I'll be doing that, and I'll probably document some of it for the channel. And I'll talk about the process as it comes to that. Here's my Discord link finally. My website's everything's especially slow loading right now. Yeah, self-brainwash. The secret, I mean, maybe it works for some people, but to me it just causes cognitive dissonance, because if I don't believe something, saying it a bunch of times isn't going to make me believe it. But think about why you don't believe it. Think about what your hang-up is. And we can talk about it when I stream again on Friday. Also, if you think about problems, so I said I want to lose weight. Let's start with that. There's a 3-step process to solving problems. It's pretty simple. Simple is good. That's something to keep in mind. Keep it simple, stupid. There is a power in simplicity. The simpler something is, the more likely you are to actually use it. So the simple methodology is first define the problem. So usually the presenting problem is not going to be the actual problem you want to deal with. So if you are like me, a little overweight, and you want to work on that, it might be a body image thing. It might be a lack of confidence. It might be a lack of you might feel insecure about your body. Losing weight wouldn't necessarily solve that. A lot of skinny people feel insecure about their body. That might not be the defining problem. Personally, I'm fat because I haven't cared for a couple of years. I've lost weight before. I know I can again. I used to be a personal trainer. My YouTube URL still says Lean Body Coach. So perfectly confident in my ability to do that. But another aspect of defining the problem is figuring out why that problem exists. So for me, it's because I live a sedentary lifestyle. I've been promoted. I work at a desk, and I work a lot. I don't have a ton of time or energy outside of work. And so I need to both change my diet, and I need to institute a lot of cardio. So last time I lost a lot of weight, I was doing an hour of cardio every day. Not, just as much as you can comfortably deal with. So if it's walking, it's walking. If it's running, it's jogging. Whatever. And obviously I missed days because none of us are perfect, but I resolved myself to make it up on my day off. So on Monday I would go out for a hike, and if I missed the whole week, I'd have to go out there and do a 7-hour hike. And that's how so to back up, I'm defining the problem. My problem is not working out enough, not being active enough, and eating the wrong foods and too much of it. So that's the problem. Finding the best solution is the second step. And this is where critical thinking comes in, because there's a million solutions. If you Google something, there's no end of people with a solution. If you ask 10 people, you'll probably get 10 different solutions. So critical thinking is the skill set you learn to help you rule out the everything that's not the best solution available for you right now. So I've already done this, so I kind of already know what my best solution is, which I was already saying. But there's other aspects to it too. So and that comes in at the third level, which is implement the solution. Because no matter how good your solution is, if you don't implement it, it doesn't help you any. Now, this is the toughest part for a lot of people. But guess what? You can phrase that as a problem too. So if you're having trouble implementing your solution, you go back to the beginning, you figure out why you're having trouble implementing the solution, figure out the best solution to that, and then you implement that. So I've actually have a 2-year certificate in hypnotherapy, which has been phenomenal for me in learning how to discipline my own mind, break habits, make habits, etc. So if I'm not excited about something, I can get excited about it through hypnotherapy. So I'm going to be going over that with some people. If we have a question, I'll if somebody has a presenting problem they want to talk about either live or through direct messages on the Discord channel, then absolutely, I'm glad to go over it. I might even do some recording and record a little induction is what it's called. Blank there, sorry. So an induction, which kind of puts you into what's called this trance state. It's basically just a state where your mind is very focused and you kind of get rid of all your distractions and you focus on what you're trying to deal with, and it makes it have more impact on your brain, and it can help you build and break habits at a much faster level. So let me get a little caught up on some comments. Yep. Thank you, Theory Plebe. Yeah, on the Discord channel, one of the channels says rules, and I have all the rules laid out there. So you can kind of, in fact, I can kind of go over it real quick now. It kind of tells you how I envision the community. Everything's loading so slow. I'm not used to this. All right. So the first principle is actually the tolerance paradox. Intolerance is not tolerated. I want a comfortable, relaxing, inviting community where everyone can be welcome. And secondly, I wanted to have a value that we're striving for as a community, and that would be we're looking to maximize well-being from behind the veil of ignorance. That's my personal overarching value in life. That's the foundation of my morality. And so naturally, I think I think everybody, if we talked about it, almost everybody would agree with that. There might be a few people who don't, but 99% of people probably would agree if you discussed it that that's their value. And then truth matters, which I've already kind of talked about a little bit, but a more accurate knowledge of truth leads to a greater probability of achieving goals and solving problems in reality. So solving problems is something that learning truth about the area surrounding that problem helps with, obviously. So that's why on my channel it's #TruthMatters, because truth is just accurate knowledge about reality. We live in reality. How could truth not matter? I don't understand. And yet you look at people's behavior, people don't act like truth matters. If you really believe that truth matters, then if you're wrong, you would want to know you're wrong. But our ego gets in the way. We don't want to admit we're wrong. People debate everything on and never agree and never progress. So I want a community where we actually, when we have a debate, the goal is improving our knowledge of truth and actually progressing. So I'll probably get into some debates and discussions, and I want to break down some classic skeptic stuff like young Earth creationism and different and politics and stuff like this. But I want to do it in such a way as to kind of lean on the problem solving aspect of it. Like, what's the problem? How am I solving it? I want to do it methodologically, and I want to progress. I don't want to cover the same thing a million times. I want to do it once and do it right. So the third, no preaching, claims have a burden of justification. And the last is the most important. It says, have fun, relax, and take a chill pill if necessary. Lose the drama. So looking for a chill community. So nice to have you in here, River Ransom. Welcome. ATS is good. Oh, anarchist tech support. Yes. And see what happens when you accept yourself, though. No, it's super important. it took me a while to get comfortable with myself. And, nobody's perfect, but I'm pretty confident with myself now. And that's something anybody can improve on. If you don't feel confident, if you do feel insecure with who you are, that's a problem, and that's something we can work on. Yeah. Veil of ignorance. So I think everybody who's watching right now is familiar with the veil of ignorance, but just a little bit more detail. So the original veil of ignorance is a thought experiment that just says we're going to set up society in such a way that you would support that even if you didn't know which family you were going to be born into. So you're like this spirit that hasn't been born yet, and you want to set up society such that no matter which baby, what family you're born into, you would be good with it. So if you're born into a black family or a Hispanic family or a poor family or a rich family, it's as fair as possible. I'd take that a little farther and imagine just body switching with people, because some people find themselves in a position that isn't necessarily due to their birth. It's due to their environment and choices over the last 20 years, and we want to be fair to them too. So I think everything's reduced to increasing well-being, but it's kind of like what they say on an airplane. They tell mothers to put their oxygen mask on first, because if you pass out, you're not going to be able to help your children. And it's the same thing. If we want to maximize well-being in society, we have to start with ourselves. So that's what this channel is starting with, is a personal focus, because I think we can all improve our lives. All right. Well, thanks for coming, guys. I'm probably going to put up some Minecraft and just hang out with you guys. That was my intro spiel. Anyone have any questions about it? By the way, I probably should have asked before I launched into all that, but how's the audio and everything been? I'm definitely lagging. I just don't know how badly. Seems like chat takes a while to reply here. Both are good. Oh, so you're talking about audio and lag and video? Probably. Okay. I thought you were talking about what River said. Syndicalism and accelerationism. Totally. No, a lot of my experience since my original kind of awakening or worldview shift in 2011 was on Quora, Quora. Anyway, I have a lot of content on there under my name, and it's a really good format for serious discussion, because people ask questions about anything, and then there's a bunch of different answers that are ranked according to how much people like them, etc. But then people comment on that, and then it opens up a whole tree of questions. So Facebook finally added to where you could reply to individual comments, but then it makes its own thread. On Quora, it creates an infinite tree, so you can reply to individual comments and just keeps branching out. So it makes a very organized way of having serious conversations. And it was a good experience for me. Don't be humble. I do have like millions of views on Quora between all my content, so it's not as big a deal as it sounds. So I don't know if I'm going to do it right now. We'll see. But I've always thought it would be a fun challenge. Maybe I'll do this on Friday or Monday. Monday's fun day. I've always thought it'd be a fun challenge to have a Minecraft challenge where you start the game, and if you die, you have to delete the entire game. Yeah, well, not the game, but that individual game, and you have to create a new world. Which would be crazy. All right, let's do it. Let's create something new. Create a new world. I was gonna play Dark Souls, but I need a better computer to play a game like that and stream it. I think it was crashing pretty hard. On the Dark Souls is an awesome game, but it's even though it's older, it's still a lot more demanding than Minecraft is. Yeah, we're gonna play hard. What do you think this is? Yeah, it's true. Like Twitter is, it's so reactionary, and it has to be. It's like the nature of the medium makes people reactionary, because if you don't say something like crazy, or controversial, you're not gonna get any. You're not gonna go viral, and everything has to be super short, so there's very little context. I was trying to get into to Twitter, and then I decided I really don't want to. It's very reactionary, and I'm not into it. Quora is a lot more thoughtful. I'm not on there as much as I used to be. I kind of got switched over to Facebook, but definitely recommend checking it out. Also, Skillshare. My goal is to start something. I still got some lag here. My goal is to start make a Skillshare about problem solving. So if with you guys' support, that can happen. So when I start a new world, I always like to mark the place I spawned at, which I think was that one. The opening chunk where you first spawn at, I think it's like 120 blocks in each direction. That chunk is always active no matter where you are in the game. So if you make different automatic machines or whatever, farms they call them, that make stuff, if they're in this chunk, they will always be going. So it's very important to mark this spot. And I want to scope it out and see if I like this world. All right, so I always like to have lots of flat areas so I have room to build stuff. That's cool. I like to have some water. I'd like to have a big sea, but it looks like I might have a sea out that way. Last time I created a world, there was bamboo and giant jungle trees for wood. It was nice. I do have a village over there, which is cool. Oh, another one over there. 2 villages. Right on. Yeah, I'm going to have this. Actually, I could probably do it now while we're talking. I had an OBS scene that was all set up to show the comments. And here it is. Yeah, I should have pulled that up. My bad. Those 5 people in here can figure it out. Okay, there we go. Inventing the future. Sounds cool. Yeah, no kidding. Speaking of social media, the future of it, I have somebody building me a website that's going to be basically a mirror of the one that Destiny and Vosh use. It's going to tie into all the different social media. And I was talking to Theory about that. And I feel like that could be the future because you own the domain. You go to GoDaddy or whatever and you buy a domain. And then you have your own website and it's tied into other social media. And you can stream from it and all this kind of stuff. But you own it, which is cool. The reason I was so excited about this website is because I can own the means of production, basically. If you donate through YouTube, YouTube takes like 30% of it. But if you donate through PayPal on your own website, you get 98% of it. So you're also taking control of it. So if you ever get banned or anything happens, like a server's down on one of the streaming on YouTube or something, which happened recently, their API servers were down, you can always just go to Twitch and stream there, and everyone knows to go to your website. So you will see a website on my channel that's re-vera.life. That's re-vera.life. It is not up yet, so there will be nothing there if you go check it out. But give me a couple of days, and there will be something there. We might even have the stream on Friday there, which would be dope, but maybe not. Let me actually type that in here. Re-vera.life. Coming soon. All right. All right, back to the game. There we go. See how long I can go without dying to a creeper sneaking up behind me. Now, of course, when you start a new world, it's kind of a race against time because when if it gets dark and you don't have any weapons or anything and you don't have a place to hide, it's kind of bad. I'm gonna kill myself a sheep with my fist. There we go. And there's not much wood around where I spawned. This sucks. Seems to work pretty good, ATS. Have you been on like Vosh.gg or Destiny.gg and seen their website? Because the streaming service, whether it's Twitch or YouTube, is very nicely windowed in there, and it has its own comments, has its own Discord community, and seems to work pretty well. And I got in contact with the person who did it for Vosh, so he's gonna help me out. She, I should say. Not very many trees. How to make video essays. I will look forward to that. I'm trying to do this using an Xbox controller that I've never used before with Minecraft. I always played. I've actually been playing it with my virtual reality, which is awesome. Yeah. Yay! I needed 6 of these. I did though. So are there any questions? Anybody have any pushback? Does everybody agree that you can solve problems, or that there is a best solution for every problem? Like when I mean that, like, just to touch on that a little more. Obviously, like, I can't solve death. Like, that's fact of life. So with something like that, the best solution is how you deal with it. And there is a best way to deal with it. And, there's grief counselors and stuff like that. And if you're talking about your own death, then the best thing I ever heard on that was if you fear death, then you never really live. That's just tragic. So don't, just enjoy life and do the best you can to have the best impact on the world as you can, to be remembered for good things, and that's life. That's the trip round we get. Oh no, yeah, ATS. It's still YouTube or Twitch. You're still, you're still under their rules, and they can still demonetize you. They can still ban you. They can still all that stuff. But you're training people to go to your website because you're ignoring the YouTube comments is the main thing. So you're training people to go to your website. So if you do ever get banned, or if their servers go down or whatever, you can just quick put in a different streaming service, and you're not as much in their power, which is a good thing. And there's always going to be there's a million streaming services. Obviously, the only two big ones are Twitch and YouTube, but there's a bazillion of them. So if enough people are going to your website on a regular basis, it's not going to really matter. And the sun is going down. Aw, shit. I am not ready for this. I am not prepared. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. She's setting it up for me, but once she does, I'm going to hopefully learn more about it and how it works and the technology of it and all that kind of cool stuff. Josu, welcome in. So I'm not quite sure what you mean. So it's a 3-step process. Define the problem, find the best solution, implement the solution. Now, there's a couple different things that can happen here. If you implement the solution, but it doesn't solve your problem, then you need to go back and learn from that, try to figure out why it didn't work. Maybe you're, like, for instance, if we're talking about losing weight and you did the exercise and you did change your diet and you did it for a long enough period of time to see if it's being effective and you're not losing weight, that's when you go to a doctor and get your hormones checked, because maybe there's a different problem you're not aware of. So that's one thing, is if you implement the solution but the problem isn't solved, you got to go back and reevaluate. Now, if you're having trouble implementing the solution, that's a problem in itself that we can go back and address. So that goes into learning mental discipline, which isn't just like willpower. No, it's training your brain pathways. There's a lot of visualization techniques and hypnotherapy techniques that can make it a lot easier, because very few people ever change something through willpower alone. We all feel like we should be able to, but we don't. So I would not beat yourself up over it if it's not working for you. Instead, let's figure out why it's not working and fix that. Well, I'm not. I'm not. Oh, I went on a whole rant there, and it was not what you're talking about. So, you can solve a problem by not getting to a place where you no longer see it as a problem. That's one possible solution. That's not really what I was talking about. A new perspective can be very beneficial, certainly. But when I'm talking about death or something, like, it's not that we're redefining the problem and then calling it a solution. It's that we're coming to the best way of dealing with the problem that we can. So, the best possible solution is grief counseling for some people, or, you know, relying on your social supports, or, you know, just enjoying life while you have it, or what have you. Like, whatever the solution, the best solution is, it might not be what you want it to be, but it's the best it can be. So, like, if for instance, if I don't like to fly, if I get really pissed off at airports, I might wish I could fly to New York like Superman, but I can't. So the best solution available to me is going to be to figure out why I don't like airports so much and do the best I can to control my own mental state, because that I can control. I can't change airports, I can't fly, etc. So it's still a solvable problem, though, and that belief is still coming into play. If you have a problem, if you have a mental state you don't like, if there's something that's not working for you, even small things. For like 2 years, like I said, I'm not perfect. I have problems all the time that I don't think to try to solve. But for like 2 years, I would get in bed and I'd want to be on my phone for a while before I go to sleep, and it would be dying, and I would like twist over in bed to where I could plug in with my 3-foot cord, and then I'm like all uncomfortable like this, trying to look at my phone while it's dying. It has to be plugged in. And then finally I was like, why am I doing this? So I pulled it up and bought a 10-foot cord for like $10. It's not that difficult. But sometimes you just have to think to yourself, why am I doing this? Let's solve this instead. And when you make a practice of solving your problems, you build confidence because you know you can solve problems. And it makes your life better because you have less problems. It's fairly obvious. I'm so gonna die. Getting distracted here. Alright, I should make at least a wooden sword, an axe, and a couple of pickaxes. Those burn out quickly. I'm even gonna do one of those in case. And oh man, I cannot deal with a fucking ender right now. No, don't look at me. I need to work on this. I need to turn my light settings up on my camera so I can turn my actual lights down. Because I have lights in my face that are blinding and I can hardly see what I'm doing. Yeah, seriously, ATS, that sounds awesome. He said there's some kind of hybrid of diaspora, some Facebook clone that plugs into everything, all your different social medias and boxes, I guess. Sounds pretty cool. Yeah, it's definitely a problem that very few people have full control over our social media. And that's a problem we should be working on solving. I'm just gonna sit here in the dark for a minute. Let's go back to comments. Okay. Yeah, for those of you who aren't familiar, why don't I just show it real quick? All right. So this is what we're talking about if you haven't been there before. And he has links to his YouTube, his Discord, Patreon, donate. You can subscribe through here, which is through PayPal. So all that technology is part of this. And when people donate or subscribe, it rings across his screen while he's live, and he can read those off. So there's a lot of technology that's all linked together in here. I'm looking forward to figuring out how it all works. He got his stream, and you sign up for your own account here if you want to, which is kind of cool. And he has his latest activity from different places here. This is all Twitter. And right now he's offline, but you can join chat and you can go in and he has a community of people that are pretty much always doing stuff. I was actually hanging out in their Discord yesterday and just chatting with people. So he got banned off Twitch. He's a bit more of an edgelord than I am, for sure. I don't endorse everything he does or says. But that's what we mean. He has his own chat. I'm not sure what the provider is. I don't know if it's coming from Discord or if it's some other software, but it's all windowed in here, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, it would be lovely if there was something that was community owned that we could take some of the power back. Because I think the only way we're ever going to seize the means of production is to do it on our own at a smaller level. This country is not going to just all of a sudden go full socialist. But, we can do what we can and push for unions in our own workplace or try to start worker co-ops and start our own social medias. It's community owned. That'd be cool. Yeah, not familiar with it. He calls people all kinds of names, and it's like I said, he's an edgelord. Anyway, who all do we have in chat here? All right, that's what time is it? 8 o'clock. Let's play a little bit more Minecraft, and I'll check back on the comments in a little bit, see what we have going on. Which is that one. There we go. If you can't see anything, that's because it's super dark. There we go. Great. Now I have archers in the water. Okay. Ha! You fell into my trap! Organize this shit a little bit. Okay, now we got some stones, so we can get better tools. I always used to, every time I started a new world in Minecraft, I had this whole routine I went through, and it's recently changed. So if we get that far, you'll see it in action. I used to build a stairway all the way down to bedrock so I could farm for diamonds. And I'd do that after, during my first night. And then you go on branching mining tunnels that are 2 blocks high and all that. Well, I recently found a much faster way, which as soon as I get enough materials, I will show. Much faster. Okay, since we're in a safe spot here, I want to switch back to comments real quick. All right, so Josie. Right, no, not every problem has a specific solution to that problem. So like there are unsolved math questions out there in the world. I can't solve that. So the best solution for me is just to ignore them. Right. That's a solution for me to that problem. What I'm most interested in is finding the best solution available to me right now for my practical problems. So, but every problem can be solved. So there are absolutely ways we can solve climate change, for instance. 100%. Will they get implemented in time? I don't know. I can't say that for sure. Now, we can work on that. We're going to try to solve those problems, but there's a lot more people involved than just a few of us. So on an individual level, we address that problem by preparing ourselves for what's coming and trying to improve our stability. Probably a good idea to be ready for some social chaos because it's probably going to come. A lot of things like that we can do on a personal level to prepare for what's coming, because I can't personally go solve climate change. But there is that's the nugget I'm trying to get into, is there's a best solution available to you right now, and that's what we're looking for. And the time involved, how much time you have to solve the problem, affects how you deal with it. Obviously, if you're sliding down a hill toward a cliff and you have like 3 seconds to figure out what to do, you're gonna just go off intuition and just grab whatever you can to stop yourself. But if you have decades to prepare for something, it's a whole different approach. You can get very methodological. You can have universities studying the issue, all kinds of stuff. So problem solving is first and foremost a mindset. And it starts with the belief, and then there's that simple methodology. I applied that to all the problems in my life. I was like literally writing out, here's my problem, defining it, what's the real cause of the problem, like putting some thought into the problem, and then finding the best solution, and then implementing the best solution. If that didn't work super good, you'd go to the beginning and start over. So, and this worked for me professionally. I said I got promoted several times. When I first started, I applied it for a job at a car dealership in 2011, and I had been unemployed for years, other than selling some Kirby vacuums door to door. And my problem was getting hired there. I did not think they would hire me because I had no experience. I had no employment history. I didn't even have a driver's license, which is kind of tough to sell cars without a driver's license. But I Googled how to do your best interview and how to make your best resume. I did a little research on that. I made the best resume I could. I kind of just played up the experience I had, and I read articles about giving the best interview. And the best tips I had were things like asking a lot of questions, like putting it back on the interviewer, And so that was my thing. For 20 minutes during this interview, I just kept asking the guy questions. I was like, so how many cars a month do you sell? Tell me about Hyundais. Haven't really paid attention to Hyundais. Is that great a car? I don't know. I don't see them that much. Are they going to be difficult to sell? What's your commission structure like? All these questions I didn't even honestly care about at all. I wanted the job no matter what. But by asking questions, he had to sell me, and he was better at selling himself than I would have been. So he sold himself on the concept of me working for him and hired me and loaned me money to go pay off the DMV and get my driver's license back. So that was a pretty effective interview, if I do say so myself. Have some fun with the wage slavery there, ATS. We're pretty much all of us trading time for money and never have enough of either. Oh, cool. What kind of rally are you going to? But yeah, if people, I would love to talk about business problems too. I've been very involved in business. When they finally made me a manager of the business, which they did, we went from averaging 70 cars a month to our best month was 139 a month. And most months were over 120. So I've applied this problem-solving methodology to more than just my personal life. I applied it to the business and is extremely effective there. When I left that position to go to a different position, I'm dying. No. How'd you get in here? Fuck, I'm dead. Right on. I've been to a couple Bernie rallies locally. He came to San Francisco 2-3 times. I've been out there. Always a good time. Have fun. Nice thing about being so close to my spawn point is I'm super close to my spawn point. If I die. Oh shit, he's gonna kill me again as soon as I jump in there. Later, ATS. All right. Well, I'm going to end the stream. I think we're all caught up on comments. And I'm going to hang out in Discord. So if anyone wants to just chat on there, feel free to hop on. Thanks for coming, and I'll be streaming again on Friday. I'd like to talk about more specifics. So you guys can think about solving problems. You can think about the belief. If you feel like you don't believe that your problems have a best solution that's available to you, then let's talk about it. One of the books I read as a teenager was very effective. There's a lot wrong with it, for sure, but it did... it helped me in a lot of ways, was Think and Grow Rich. And one of the things they talk about is a mastermind. How most of the successful people in history had groups of people that were also looking for success that hung out together. And if one of them had a problem with whatever business they had or whatever they were doing, they would bring it up and they'd talk about it and they'd kind of crowdsource it. So it's basically the power of communities. And that's what I'd like the Re-Vera Discord community to be, is kind of a mastermind. So whoever has a problem can just pop in there and we can talk about it. And we'll also just be hanging out and playing games and, having a good time. So once again, thanks everybody for coming. And I will see you on Friday or Discord before then.